Welcome to The Explainer. If you're revising Catholic popular piety for your GCSEs, you have literally landed in the exact right spot. Today, we're building the ultimate revision guide to help you understand how human beings find deep spiritual comfort through traditional practices. We'll be breaking down the history, the core beliefs, and how all these devotions actually play out in the real world. Let's dive right in.
Here's our game plan for today. 1. What is popular piety? 2. The power of pilgrimage. 3. Lourdes versus the Western Wall. 4. The Rosary and Suffering. And finally, 5. Comfort and Connection.
Starting with Section 1, what exactly is popular piety?
Okay, let's start by breaking down the word piety. At its core, piety just means showing devotion to God through acts of holiness. So popular piety refers to the everyday, common forms of praying and devotion. These are the practical ways a lot of Catholics choose to bring themselves closer to God in their day-to-day lives. Our two massive examples for today's revision, going on a pilgrimage and praying the Rosary, fit perfectly into this definition.
Now, to really wrap your head around this for the exam, you need to know the difference between formal rites and popular piety. Think of formal rites like your core, mandatory school subjects, things like math and science. These are the official, formal elements of the Catholic Church. Popular piety, on the other hand, is entirely like joining an extracurricular club. It's not officially part of those strict formal rites, but you join it purely because you love it, and it brings you closer to the subject. Catholics do these devotions because they actively want to feel that personal connection to God.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates how these traditions got the name popular in the first place. They literally started with the people. Ordinary, everyday Catholics just began practicing these specific forms of devotion across different cultures and regions. Over time, because they were so incredibly effective at bringing people closer to God, the Church stepped in and officially recognized their value. It's a true grassroots movement of faith.
Moving on to Section 2, the power of pilgrimage.
A pilgrimage is first and foremost a physical journey. It's a trip made by believers to places that hold massive, undeniable spiritual significance. Usually, these are places associated with historical visions, appearances, miracles, or profound events straight out of the Bible. It serves as a really powerful physical expression of faith, where the actual journey itself is just as important as the final destination.
So let's look at a must-know example for your studies, Lourdes, France. Back in 1858, Mary appeared to Saint Bernadette right here. Since that moment, Lourdes has become deeply, deeply associated with healing. In fact, it boasts 69 verified miracle healings. Pilgrims travel there from all corners of the globe because they believe the water in Lourdes is holy and possesses real miraculous healing properties. They go hoping for a physical cure or honestly just to receive a spiritual blessing that gives them the courage to face their ongoing illnesses.
But here is what makes Lourdes an absolute game changer. At Lourdes, the sick and disabled are the absolute priority. They aren't pushed to the side. They are placed right at the beating heart of the community. Think about what a profound contrast this is to what many sick or disabled individuals might experience back at home. At home, they might feel totally isolated by their suffering, or maybe feel like a burden. But at Lourdes, their suffering makes them the absolute center of everyone's care, love, and attention.
This whole environment directly reflects the teachings of Jesus. It connects beautifully to the Beatitudes, that idea that blessed are those who suffer. Plus, thousands of volunteers travel to Lourdes specifically to help the sick, creating this amazing place of prayer, hope, and peace. By seeing suffering and actively choosing to do something about it, these volunteers are literally living out the biblical mandate from the parable of the sheep and goats. This is popular piety in pure, compassionate action.
That brings us to Section 3. Lourdes versus the Western Wall. Now, similar to Catholics, Jewish people are not required by some strict mandatory rule to go on pilgrimage. However, there are incredibly special places that many feel a very deep need to visit. The Torah talks about going to Jerusalem for key festivals, like Passover, which is Passover, and Sukkot, which remembers the Israelites being protected in the wilderness. Many will travel to the Western Wall, which is the last remaining part of the ancient temple, to pray and physically post written prayer intentions right into the cracks between the ancient stones. For them, it's about feeling closer to God, bringing the global community together, and walking the exact historic journey of their ancestors. So, to quickly summarize this difference, and this is a really great comparison to drop into an exam, while the Catholic pilgrimage to Lourdes centers intensely on seeking miraculous healing and emotionally supporting the sick, the Jewish pilgrimage to the Western Wall is much more about a profound connection to ancient history, unifying the community, and taking part in Torah festivals. Both absolutely offer immense spiritual comfort, but the core focus of the journey is wonderfully distinct.
Section 4. The Rosary and Suffering. Shifting gears a bit, the Rosary is a profound prayer of devotion specifically to Mary. But the physical beads you see aren't just decorative jewelry. They act like a physical map. They are a tactile tool to help the individual meditate, keeping them totally grounded and focused on the sequence of the prayers without having to worry about losing their place.
Looking back at history, the Rosary was first established by St. Dominic. And honestly, this was a brilliant theological innovation. It was created specifically to help people who couldn't read or write. It took deep, meditative prayer and made it completely accessible to ordinary people who couldn't exactly engage with the formal written Latin texts of the Church. It empowered the everyday person to actually learn the prayers and connect with their faith on their own terms.
And as Catholics pray the Rosary, they don't just recite words automatically. They meditate on 4 distinct sets of mysteries. These mysteries represent totally different phases of Jesus' life and his divine nature. So we have the sorrowful mysteries focusing on the deeply sad times, the joyful focusing on the happy times, the glorious revealing the amazing glory of God, and the luminous mysteries which clearly shine a light on exactly who Jesus is.
Which leads us to our final section, Section 5, Comfort and Connection. The Rosary is a highly traditional way to seek comfort, and we see this specifically within these sorrowful mysteries. These are divided into 5 distinct parts that you should definitely know: the agony in the garden, the scourging at the pillar, the crowning with thorns, the carrying of the cross, and finally, the crucifixion. By intensely focusing on these 5 specific events, believers confront the brutal reality that Jesus suffered deeply, both emotionally and physically, at the hands of other humans.
The psychological and spiritual effect of moving through those 5 mysteries is incredibly profound. By reflecting on Christ's immense pain, the believer realizes something crucial. They are not alone. They become spiritually united with Jesus. Seeing that the Son of God endured such profound emotional and physical pain provides believers with this amazing strength and courage to face their own personal hardships, illnesses, and disabilities.
So whether a person is standing at an ancient stone wall in Jerusalem, bathing in a miraculous healing spring in France, or literally just holding a string of beads in the quiet of their own bedroom, we are looking at a universal human truth. Across all these different traditions, these forms of popular piety answer one huge, profound question: how do we best find our own peace, strength, and comfort when facing life's absolute greatest challenges? Keep that idea right at the center of your revision, and you'll do great.